Hi everyone, and welcome to the Becca and Lizzie Meet series, where we're taking a journey across the UK to learn all things food, farming, engineering and the environment.
I'm Becca.
And I'm Lizzie.
And last week it was Diwali. We headed to Leicester to learn more about the festival.
You'll be able to watch our Diwali video in just a moment. But while it's on, we want you to think of lots of exciting questions. But first, we've got a couple for you.
That's right. Have a look at your activity sheets and the questions are just at the top here.
Well, I think it's time we roll the video. Hello, we're Becca and Lizzie.
I'm Becca and I'm a farmer.
And I'm Lizzie, and I didn't grow up on a farm.
Today we're here in Leicester. And as you can see from the lights and decorations, it's a fantastic celebration of Diwali.
Diwali is also known as the Festival of Lights, but we're not staying here.
No, we're not. We're heading to meet Nihar to learn more about the festival and also bake traditional burfi and cardamom balls. Well, we've just arrived at Nihar's house and we're here to make some sweet treats to celebrate Diwali.
Let's see if she's in.
Hello everyone, come on in.
Well, thank you so much for welcoming us into your home. We'd love to learn a bit more about Diwali.
Sure, Diwali is the festival of light. It celebrates good over evil. And over Diwali, friends, families and communities come together, spend time together and eat loads.
Well, we absolutely love your decorations. So how long does Diwali last?
Depending on the Indian calendar, it's normally 3 to 4 days. We have little functions between those days and it starts with a puja, which is a religious ceremony, and it goes on to our new year.
Well, I think we should all learn a bit more about Diwali.
And the best way to learn is in the kitchen.
So we're here in the kitchen, and that's because we're cooking something very special to celebrate Diwali, correct?
Yes, that is correct. Diwali is an occasion where we exchange sweet gifts between friends and family, and today we're making one of the popular ones, which is a traditional burfi.
Well, I can't wait to cook and taste the burfi. Can we get started?
Yes, but first we've got to wash our hands.
Well, we've washed our hands and the ingredients are gathered together behind us.
I'm so excited to see how these ingredients come together to make a burfi.
Me too. Let's get Nihar to show us how the recipe's done.
First things first, get the pan on, but make sure it's on low heat. Now you go in with your melted butter or ghee, then you add in your milk, let that all simmer. Becca, please can you add the sugar?
No problem. Did you know that we can grow sugar here in the UK? Well, if you didn't, we'll be hearing from our friend Farmer Luke later in the webinar, and he's going to explain how he grows sugar on his farm. Now I'm going to add in all of the sugar and give it a good stir.
Great work, Becca. We will keep stirring this until the sugar is totally dissolved. Once the sugar is dissolved, add in your milk powder. Now we've got to keep stirring it until it forms a silky dough. At the moment it looks very crumbly, but with a bit of time it will all come together. Eventually the mixture will form a ball. Turn off the heat and now it's time to add all the flavours. Lizzie, do you mind adding the flavours?
Right, it's my turn to get involved. So let's add some of the flavours. So first of all, we're going to add the cardamom to the mixture. Next, we'll add around 8 strands of saffron. We want half a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And finally, we'll add the lemon juice. So now to give it a good mix for around 5 minutes.
After 5 minutes, your burfi is done. Now you need to let it cool. Put it into your prepared pan. And what you've got to do, you've got to flatten it all and get it as even as possible. Now the traditional burfi is made, we need to let it cool at room temperature before we add the chocolate topping.
While the barfi cools, we have a little bit of time to make another sweet dish.
Ooh, what's that?
We're going to be making cardamom and date balls.
Sounds delicious. Let's get started.
First of all, we're going to roast the nuts lightly. Just do this in a dry pan. Once these are roasted, put it back into your bowl to add at a later stage. Now we're going to cook the dates. Start off by putting a tablespoon of ghee into your pan, then add in your chopped dates. Give it a stir and then cook these on low heat until the dates start to melt. Once the dates are soft and mushy, you can add the nuts in, turn it off the heat and combine. Now put your date mixture onto a baking paper. Be careful, it is hot. Using the baking paper, form a log. Now we're going to do some cutting. Ask an adult to help to cut these into equal sizes. Now I'm just going to make them into balls. The cardamom and date balls are ready and the burfi has cooled down. Let's get Becca and Lizzie over to do the finishing touches.
To decorate, I'll start by rolling the balls in edible flowers.
And then next, I'm going to finish off with some gold leaf. I'm going to start by covering the burfi in melted chocolate.
And we'll finish with a sprinkle of nuts. Well, after all of that hard work, I think it's time that we try these tasty treats, starting with the burfi.
It's just like fudge. I can taste a hint of cardamom, and also amazing to know that this has been made using sugar produced on British farms.
Well, that was delicious. Now it's time to try the cardamom balls.
Do you know what it reminds me of? Sticky toffee pudding.
Definitely.
Glad you like them.
Well, I have to say, both those sweet treats were absolutely delicious. Thank you so much for letting us come here today to make them and try them. I have to say, I think my favourite was the cardamom balls.
Well, mine was the burfi.
Oh, thank you so much and I'm glad you enjoyed them and thanks for your help.
No worries, it's been fantastic to learn all about the festival and how to make traditional sweet treats.
Well, if you've got any more questions about Diwali, we'll be able to answer them in just a moment.
But for now, all that's left to say is goodbye from us.
Bye! Well, it was great to have you with us to make those recipes.
As you can see, Neha has joined us to answer all of your questions.
Hi everyone and thank you girls.
Don't forget, when you ask your questions, they'll come straight through to our phones.
That's right, and we do have some questions coming through already. So Lizzie, what's the first one?
Well, the first question is from Jamie from Year 5 at All Saints. So thank you so much, Jamie. And they would like to know, how did you become a chef?
I've always helped my mum in the kitchen since I was a child and it's probably been the last 15 years I decided I want to recreate all her recipes. So probably 15 years I actively started cooking.
Wow, fantastic.
Amazing. The next question, Anna would like to know, what's your favourite food to make?
It's got to be traditional recipes that my mum learnt from her mum and that I can share. So it's probably got to be curries, I think.
Ooh,
Lovely.
Well, I loved what we made. It was fantastic. Okay, we've got more questions coming in. Thanks, everyone. So Bobby would like to know if you prefer the burfi or cardamom balls.
Oh, Bobby, it's got to be the burfi only because of that chocolate layer on top.
Oh, delicious. Our next question is Matty from St Andrews Primary. Thank you, Matty. What advice can you give me to help me get into the food industry? That's a really good question.
I think one thing is just be... One thing is always concentrate on what you want to do. So food industry is massive. So try and think what you like to do, if it's baking or making curries, whatever, but try and concentrate on one little thing first and then you can broaden your horizon.
Good advice. Well, we've got another one here from Ozzy in year 4. Thanks, Ozzy. And they would like to know, why do you give sweets to celebrate Diwali?
The main reason we give, this goes back years ago, Diwali normally happens after the farmer's harvest. So it's a way of the farmers giving gratitude to everyone to say, thank you for such a wonderful harvest.
Oh, that's lovely, isn't it? And we certainly enjoyed making and tasting the sweet treats. This is another good question. Are there any other plants sugar comes from? We thought it was a cane, and that's from class 7. Now, that's a good question, and we might be able to touch on that later, mightn't we?
Yes, definitely. You could touch on that later.
And we've got a little video to show you in a minute.
Well, before that, a few more questions. Do you ever come up with new flavours and recipes? If so, what inspires them? And that is from George from year 2 at St John's Primary.
Definitely. I think it's just what's in season. So come summertime when strawberries are in season, you just try and think outside the box and think, what can I make with strawberries? That's different. Basically, or making fusion dishes. I think that's something, it just depends what's seasonal and what's around that I can think to create stuff with.
Absolutely, and it's definitely a great thing if we can buy in-season produce and then make recipes with it as well. Well, our next question is, what age were you when you began making the sweets?
I would say with my mum, I was probably about 10 years old.
That's great. So actually, most of you watching on the webinar today will be able to make the sweet treats and the recipes at home with some help.
Definitely. They're pretty easy, but just get some adult supervision.
Fantastic. Well, Causton Grange Primary, you sent in a fantastic question here. How does cooking make you feel?
Cooking for me is very therapeutic. I'm in my own zone and it's my stress-free time, I think.
Oh, absolutely. And it's amazing to be able to make something and then, as we said, taste it as well. That's the important part.
Yes.
So, another good question. Are the sweets decorated in different ways? So we did a couple of things in the video, didn't we?
Yes. It just depends. You can go as glamorous as you want or keep them simple. They will still taste delicious. So you could either add nuts or to make them glamorous, add gold leaf. It drizzles some different types of chocolate on it. It's really up to you.
Oh, you can get very creative in the kitchen. Wow, so many questions keep coming in. But I think it's time we show everyone another video. What do you think, Bex?
That's right. Remember we mentioned our friend Farmer Luke?
Well, he sent a video on farm with his glamorous assistant, Farmer Clive, and he's going to be talking all about where our sugar comes from.
Let's watch the video.
Hi everybody, I'm Farmer Luke.
Hi everybody, I'm Farmer Clive.
And we're standing in the field of my sugar beet.
And this sugar beet field was drilled beginning of April and we hope to have it harvested by December.
Now this field was drilled with 120,000 seeds a hectare. Now a hectare is just under 2 football fields. If the sugar beet, or harvested sugar beet, we use something called a sugar beet harvester. Now because of my small acreage, it's not financially viable for me to own a sugar beet harvester. But I have kind of got a sugar beet harvester, and I'll show you. Ta-da! This is a small scale model of the actual sugar beet harvester that comes to lift my crop. Now how the sugar beet harvester works is my glamorous assistant Farmer Clive here. This is one that we just pulled out of the ground. The sugar beet harvester tops the crop because this bit of the leaves we don't want. This is the bit we're after, and this is what contains the sugar. So the sugar beet harvester comes along, tops the crop, squeezes the sugar beet out the ground into the tank, where it's then tipped into a trailer, then gets stored either on the headland of the field or goes back to the farm to get clamped up so it doesn't get frosted over the winter, because sugar beet does not like frost. But it's the only crop we can actually store outside. It's grown outside, and as long as it's not frosty, it'll quite happily stay there for a couple of months for the hauliers to come in with lorries to take it to the factory to be produced into sugar.
Right, now it's harvested, it's in the clamp, the hauliers come and collect the sugar beet and it's processed in the factory, which is no more than 40 miles away from this field. And what they want to do is process the sugar beet to extract the sugar from it.
So out of this field that we're standing in now, we hope to get 80,000 bags of sugar. Now, all the sugar beet that I grow and mainly grown in the country goes to British Sugar that makes Silver Spoon products. So I guarantee next time you go shopping, you see a Silver Spoon bag of sugar there, you have more or less driven by a field of sugar beet that's been grown for that sugar.
And look for the red tractor sign on the bag, which means it's crop assured. And keep buying British, support British farming.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found that enjoyable and informative. And I'll see you again next time. Say goodbye, Farmer Clive.
I've just thrown the sugar beet away.
Don't do that. Don't lift the sugar beet or harvest the sugar beet. We use something called a sugar beet harvest.
Great video. Thanks so much to Farmer Luke. But Becca, there were a few farming words in that I didn't quite understand. Please, can you help me?
Absolutely.
Well, Farmer Luke mentioned something about drill and drilling. Does that mean when we do DIY at home?
Well, not quite. When we're talking about drilling on the farm, that means planting the seeds ready for next harvest. So we use the machine called a drill, which is pulled behind the back of a tractor, and it puts the seeds in the ground.
Ah, okay, that makes sense. And what about clamp?
So clamp is the word that we use to describe the big pile of sugar beet after they've been harvested. So sugar beet grow to probably about this size,
wow,
ideally, when they're harvested, and we store them in the big pile called a clamp.
Well, that's certainly a big sugar beet. So there was another word. Oh, what was it? Acreage.
Yes. Acreage is the word used to describe how much land or area a farmer farms. So Farmer Luke said that his farm was relatively low acreage, which means that he has quite a small farm.
And Farmer Luke also mentioned something about financially viable. What does that mean?
That's a good question, Lizzie. Financially viable is making sure that the farm business is making more money than the costs that it has to produce the food. So it's all about keeping those costs balanced.
Okay. And what about assurance? That's another word I'm not quite sure of.
Assurance means when farms have to go through some checks to make sure that they're doing everything correctly. A bit like when you get inspected at your primary schools.
Oh, okay. Yep. Understood. And finally, was it haulier?
Haulier. Now that's the person who takes the sugar beet from the clamp to the factory to be processed.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I've learned something new there. Have you all? Well, what's the next question, Bex?
Well, I think after watching the sugar beet video, it's a good time to ask the question about are all the ingredients sourced in the UK? Now, when it comes to sugar, we can have sugar beet, which is grown in the UK. Sugar cane, on the other hand, isn't grown in the UK due to our climate.
Right, okay, fantastic. Well, we've got another one here for Neha, and this is from Isabella in Year 3. Thanks, Isabella. Isabella would like to know, when did you first start celebrating Diwali?
From when I was born. So I've been brought up with Diwali because it's our Hindu festival, and from when I was little, I can always remember all the lights, being spoiled, all the sweets, all the family and friends get together. So yeah, it's been part of my growing up.
Oh, well, that is an excellent answer. We have our next question from Charlotte. And Charlotte wants to know, are there any other special recipes which are used to celebrate Diwali?
Yes, traditionally sweets are the main thing, but then we've got all sorts of food. Like when people get together, we've got biryanis, like big curry pots. We've got all our other Indian sweets, which is like jalebi and so much more. But the core is the sweets for gifting and eating. But then we also have very snacky food, which many households make on the run up to Diwali.
Brilliant. Well, we've got another one here from Emma, and Emma said, I really like the decorations. Can I make my own?
Yes, Emma, you can definitely make your own. I think coloured paper is always a good one to make decorations with, and it's sustainable too. You can use leaves. I think it's as long as everything's colourful, you're good to go.
I think that's one thing we learnt about coming to your home as well and seeing the decorations. It's all about colour, isn't it?
Definitely, colour and light.
Excellent. So our next question is from David at Birchfield Primary School. what is the most expensive ingredient you use in your cooking? Which I think is a really good one, isn't it? Because we want to keep these recipes affordable too.
Saffron is a very expensive ingredient, but whenever you use saffron, you only need a tiny pinch.
Good tip. Especially if you're going to be making the recipes at home on your
Activity sheet.
Fantastic. We've got some more here, and another question. Do you like chocolate bars? If so, which is your favourite? Oh, I love a chocolate bar.
Oh, I've got to say 12. I love a deep chocolate bar, and it's got to be 12. 12's my favourite.
Oh, I do love a 12.
We've got another question here. Have you ever entered any food competitions?
I haven't, because every time I go to enter, I get really worried, but more and more people are telling me I should just brave it and enter a competition. So, who knows?
Well, I think from the food that we tasted, you should definitely be entering some.
Thank you.
Well, we've got another question here, which is, what was the first thing you ever cooked? Gosh.
I'm going to say, on my own, in an Indian household, it's got to be chapatis. Like, that was something we had to learn from when we were little.
There you go. Well, our next question has come in from another one from Birchfield Primary School. What advice would you give to someone who wanted to make their own food videos to share? Now, we see lots of stuff online and on social media these days, don't we?
I think, to start with, don't spend a lot on expensive equipment. Use your standard phone. The main thing with any video or photo for me is about lighting. So try and do it when it's natural daylight and just be natural. Try and be yourself. That's what people want. People want raw footage of being yourself and doing what you do best.
And it's okay to make mistakes.
Definitely.
If you get it wrong first time, try again and you can just get better.
Absolutely.
Wow, a few more coming in. Thanks, everybody. How many different types of Diwali sweets are there?
Oh my God, there are gazillions. I couldn't count because every region generally has different ones. Everyone has a different twist. Like you both tried cardamom balls. That's more of a modern twist. So the list is endless. I could not give you a number.
Gosh, well, we've given you a recipe to try, so have a look at your activity sheets as well, because there is a recipe on there for you to try cooking.
And we want to see your pictures as well. Make sure you do send them in and we can have a look.
Absolutely. The next question comes from David, so thank you, David. What's your favourite part about being a chef?
Creating and sharing recipes. For me, I just think sharing is caring. So whenever I get something, I want other people to try it out because the world has got so many good recipes to try. And yeah, by making them and sharing them with you, I'm hoping you can all try them too.
Brilliant.
Fantastic. So, what's your favourite food? And I'm going to open this question to everybody here. What is your favourite food?
I do like homemade vegetarian curry. Only because I don't make it as well as my mum, so it just has that comfort feeling.
Do you like it spicy?
Yes, I like it spicy. What about both of you?
I have to say, home-cooked meals I love. I love anything involving pasta, I have to say. Anything involving pasta.
What I love is Sunday roast with Yorkshire puddings, mash, gravy, meat.
Everything.
Everything.
Well, we've got another question about one of the recipes that we cooked in the video. How long do burfi take to cook? Now, they don't actually go in the oven, do they?
No. What took long? Cooking the milk powder, so you're cooking it all the way through, that can take a bit long, but it's not that long. I think it was maybe 15 minutes. What takes long is chilling the burfi so that it sets before adding in your chocolate layer. So actual cooking time is not long. It's just like the leaving it in the fridge to chill. That takes long.
Well, it was definitely worth the wait.
It was.
This is a great question. Have you got any food role models, chefs or foodie influencers? Anybody you look up to?
It's got to be my mom and my grandma. Like, we've got good family chefs, and if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be able to, well, I wouldn't be as inspired as I am now. But there's so many good content creators out there who always have something good to share.
Absolutely, and I think that goes the same for many sectors now. You can often find somebody inspiring in whether it be a job or a hobby or an interest, and it's a bit like farming. There's lots of people out there, aren't there?
Definitely.
So we have another question here. What's the hardest thing that you've ever cooked or baked or made?
It's got to be the Indian sweet jalebi. I made it over lockdown, and there's just a technique. There's a technique to swirl it round. There's a technique to get the oil right. That's the problem with a lot of fried Indian cooking. Everything needs to be right, and it's really hard. But with practice, it gets perfect.
Absolutely. I think it's about practice with everything when it comes to cooking, isn't it?
Definitely.
Well, we've got time for a few more questions, so if you've got any others, please keep sending them in. Do you invite friends and family round for Diwali?
Yes, Diwali is very much about being together with your loved ones. So having people round for dinner, snacks, tea, just seeing everyone or getting together at a mutual place, that's a very big thing over Diwali.
Well, we've got time for one last question, and actually it follows on very well from that one. James wants to know, what's the most people you've cooked a meal for?
I want to say 30 people.
Wow, that's like a restaurant.
Yes, but we have big families, so we've got to cook generally. But I can't take the full credit. Obviously, I've got family helping, but yeah, when we had my cousin got married from my house, so we had a lot of people, and we all had to pitch in, cook loads. But it's fun.
Sounds fun.
It does, yeah. A real activity and family time together. Wow, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been great to have you here.
It has. And thank you also, Neha, for answering all your questions. It's been so interesting to learn a bit more.
Thank you so much for having me on, and thanks for sharing the experiences with me.
Oh, it was great. Well, don't forget you can catch us again next week, which is the 30th of November, where we've got an exciting Christmas special. We'll be learning all about turkeys and Christmas dinner.
That's right. But remember, at the end of today's webinar, we mentioned this little box at the bottom. We'd love you to create one of the recipes, but please do remember to take some photos and tag us at NFU Education.
Well, all that's left to say is goodbye from us and see you again next week. Bye.
Bye.